Hello everybody! Today we'll be making Chillet from Palworld. You know the one, the adorable dragon weasel that everybody loves? Well, you sure can add me to that fan group because I'm definitely one of them. And so obviously due to that fact, I'm gonna have to make one to keep one for myself in real life. To start this process, you're gonna want some tightly wrapped aluminum foil made into an S shape. And for anyone that gets this reference, think about making tractor out of aluminum foil. Please don't tell me I'm the only one who still thinks about Homestar Runner these days. And I mean, I guess that shows my age a bit, but that's okay. Anyways, you're gonna want to start wrapping some polymer clay onto the foil. This step did take me a while because you have to keep building up in order to thicken the body. And on top of thickening the body, you also have to continuously smooth things out. Smoothing to me is honestly such a pain, but if the character calls for it, then it's so worth it in the end. Finally though, we're starting to point out the tail and then adding the head. Chillet over here is starting to look like a bit like Nessie, huh? Maybe it was a baby Chillet over here that was in that old famous Loch Ness Monster photo, one that hasn't grown into its ears yet. And again, like how the body was done, with the head you're just going to want to keep adding on clay until you get the right shape and size that you want. Now finally moving on to the smaller details, I'm going to be using cosplay for the more fragile pieces. First up, I'm going to be starting off with the noodle arms. It's really not surprising at all that there's already videos of Chillet just roaming around in different environments, because watching a Chillet walk or run is so cute and amusing just in itself. And after sticking those paddle feet on, make sure to smooth them in to attach them to the body completely. Also, of course, with the adorable feet that they have, make sure to detail in those precious toes. Just look at them little feeties, so cute. Now sculpting out that area where the little whiskers are, it's the same kind of whisker flap things that Catava has. Getting these attached to the head could be a little troublesome considering how small they are, but using my pointed metal tool and my rubber tipped tool, it was pretty easy to just smooth it on. After successfully attaching those, we're going to be moving on to the balloon ears. Now I say balloon ears because when I look at them, I often think about balloon animals. Which clearly isn't a bad thing because Chillet pulls it off really well and makes it super cute. Next, we're moving on to the spikes on the back. These are fairly simple to do. All you're going to want to do is make a flat triangular shape with just a slight curve to it and smooth it on. And if it isn't curved enough, you can always use a sculpting tool to shape it a little bit more. And also can't forget about the little tufts at the end of the tail. And again with like the spike fins on the back, sometimes it's easier just to attach the piece to the body first and then use your sculpting tools to detail a certain shape. So like right here, it wasn't big enough, so I added some clay to the top and smoothed it on. Then finally making one more smaller tuft to go right underneath the bigger one. Okay, so now I'm making the diamond shapes for the chest area. At first, I thought this would just be painted on, but when I got a closer look at my Chillet, I realized that they actually popped out a bit, so I figured just to make it out of clay. After sticking them on, I figured they looked way nicer than just having a flat painted area, so I was pretty happy with it. My biggest problem was just smoothing them on without messing up the shape. Now we're bringing out the mask and the sandpaper. Always use protection for this step because you don't want to breathe it in. Like everybody else who uses polymer clay, lint and dust is the bane of my existence, so I'm going to attack it with some fine grit sandpaper. Another method for dust and lint is while you're still working with the raw clay, you can use some isopropyl on a paper towel and just wipe over it until it comes off. But since Chillet had to be smoothed out anyways, I figured I would just use sandpaper instead. And after about 2 hours of sanding, it was finally ready to be painted. Now watching this smooth paper towel cleanup. Magic. Now to the fun part of painting. As usual, I'm going to be starting off with an all-white coat to ensure that everything is even. The white Primo usually darkens just a little bit after baking, so I'll do one light layer over that, and then the Cosclay is usually 2 to 3 layers. Sometimes I kind of just wish I could make the whole thing out of white clay, but in my opinion, with the delicate areas, Cosclay is really worth it to use, so it's worth the extra time. Now this step is at a personal preference, it's not necessary, but I like to sketch out the areas that I'm going to be painting different colors. Overall, it just helps me have a cleaner look because I know where the markings will go, and it keeps me from adding too many layers of paint from having to fix mistakes. If you couldn't tell by the annoyed voice, I've had to fix many in the past. Okay, so now let's experiment with mixing colors for the blue body. And right off the bat, here's a satisfying paint booger peel. Perfect. In goes the light blue. And a little bit of, what is that liquid? Ugh, hold on. Ew, gross, what the? It's like blue poop. Okay, well I guess this is old paint. It's okay though, because I think the blue was actually a bit lighter than I thought, so I'm just gonna be mixing some blue with some white instead and see how that pans out. And yes, the watercolor palette makes a return from my acrylic paints. Don't judge me, okay? I'm trying my best. Now, finally, we can start painting Chillet. And mix some light blue with a different dark blue that isn't poopy. Oh yes, so smooth. Just always have to enjoy a good paint mixing session. Starting with the tips of the ears, I realized that the color wasn't dark enough, so I'm gonna add just a little bit of black, just a smidge, not a lot. Okay, yep, that is much better. The ears were fairly simple to do, and then came the diamonds. This felt like it was way more difficult just because of the curvature in it. As someone that strives for perfection, it can be pretty frustrating when you're trying to paint detailed lines that are actually straight. As frustrating as it can be though, it can be pretty relaxing when you have a wider area to work with, like the spiky fins here. It really felt so satisfying not being able to do it just once, but 6 times. It was great. And up next are the diamonds. It's times like this that I really appreciate the sketches because it makes it way easier to lay everything out in the right area the first time. Now I'm going to be mixing a very light gray. I'm going to be mixing a tiny bit of black with some white, and I'm going to be putting this over the white part of her body. I wanted to mix this color because her underside doesn't look like a pure bright white. It looked more like a gray tone to me. And now here is my favorite part to do. I swear that every time it comes to fine detailing, I just cannot keep a steady hand. I will say though that I didn't do too bad on the first eye until I got to the second eye. I got a little heavy-handed and whoops. And me being me, I tried to fix it with the white before the black even had a chance to try. Back to feel good times though, because the blue is coming in for the eye. I just love it when I'm starting to really get close to the end and you just see it all really come together. I wanted to make the blue a little bit darker, so I added small spots of black and mixed it in. Sometimes it's just easier to mix it while on the sculpture. And for the little light spots on the bottoms of her eye, I wanted to use this really pretty aqua green color. And not just at the bottom, but I wanted to bring it up the sides just a little bit. And then adding the little shiny spots. And then of course I had to go back to fix some areas. I wanted to make the eyes a little bit smaller and fix the black outlining as well. And of course, gotta add that smile underneath. And finally, I added just a little bit more white to the green to put more shine to the eyes. And now for the end, I'm so happy with how it turned out. I feel like it came out even better than the Cattiva that I did previously. And if you guys actually watched this to the very end, thank you so much. In honor of Chillet, leave a snowflake emoji in the comment section down below. Till next time everyone, bye!